Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, January 30th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show is made possible by its listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Mike Akins, Norm Fazekas, Chris Allen, lifetime patron, James Collins.
Woo! Woo! Thank you to all our patrons, and especially a big shout out to our lifetime patrons. And welcome to all of you to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little better. We unpack, we discuss. It's fun. How's everybody doing today? Robb Dunewood, how are you?
I'm doing real good. And at the end of the show, if you got time, I'll show the world why.
Ooh.
Like that tease? Like that tease?
A little tease, yeah.
That's some next
exactly.
level hosting right there, yeah.
How you doing, Roger?
I am doing all right. I'm a little chilly because it's a little cooler today than it was yesterday, a little overcast, but I don't mind. Reminds me of San Francisco.
When I walked out my front door this morning, which was early because I was walking the dog, I was like, oh, it's really warm today compared to yesterday. So I don't know. Maybe we're in different vortexes.
It's in the 40s in Ohio. I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? It was like minus 12 or something last time we
Literally
talked about
last
this.
week this time, it was in the negatives. It was probably, when I did the show, probably about 4 or 5. But when I woke up, it was like -9.
Yeah, that's cold. So yeah, 40s. We'll take it. We will also take some quick hits, and let's start that now.
Microsoft announced its Q2 earnings Wednesday, reporting slower than expected Azure cloud growth and issuing a weaker revenue forecast. Revenue grew 12.3% to $69.63 billion, which beat estimates, but Azure growth slowed, still up 31%, but not the 33% it had in the previous quarter. The company also reported a $2.3 billion impairment charge related to its investment in GM's Cruise and noted that capital expenditures would remain high through fiscal 2025 before slowing in 2026. As for Microsoft's AI business, it's doing $13 billion in annualized revenue.
Microsoft also announced the Surface Pro 11 and Surface Laptop 7, both powered by Intel Lunar Lake processors, an alternative to Qualcomm's popular Snapdragon X chips. Both models start at $1,500. That's $500 more than the Qualcomm variant, so if price is a consideration, that's something to consider. But if you're interested, they'll be available on February 18th.
The U.S. Department of Justice has sued to block Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, or HPE's, $14 billion acquisition of Juniper Networks, citing antitrust concerns. The DOJ argues the deal would reduce the enterprise wireless equipment market from 3 major players, HPE, Cisco, and Juniper, to just 2. The European Commission previously approved the merger.
Interesting. You would think that the EC would have been the government body to say, hey, wait a second. So, all right. Yeah. It's happening stateside. Google announced a voluntary exit program for U.S.-based employees in its platforms and devices division, which includes teams working on Android, Chrome, Pixel, Fitbit, and Nest. This follows last year's merger of Google's Pixel hardware and Android software teams. Employees who choose to leave will receive a severance package, though Google says the change doesn't impact product roadmaps.
Meta has agreed to pay roughly $25 million to settle a 2021 lawsuit filed by President Trump against the company and CEO Mark Zuckerberg after Trump's accounts were suspended following the U.S. Capitol attack. Of the total, $22 million is said to be allocated to fund Trump's presidential library, with the remainder covering legal fees and compensation for other plaintiffs involved in the case. The agreement was signed by President Trump in the Oval Office, but doesn't include an admission of wrongdoing by Meta.
Wired reports cloud security firm Wiz discovered that DeepSeek left a critical database exposed online, leaking over 1 million records, including user prompts, API keys, and system logs. The database was locked after Wiz researchers alerted DeepSeek, but it's still unclear if bad actors had accessed the data or could indeed access the data going forward. There's growing regulatory scrutiny of DeepSeek, which came on the scene very recently, over the last month, basically. Italy's data watchdog is questioning its data practices, and the U.S. Navy is warning personnel not to use its services. All right, Rob, let's go back to Meta. Meta, has, announced some pretty strong earnings, but there's a little bit more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so Meta did report its quarterly earnings yesterday. And on its earnings call, one of the interesting things that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg said was that the company is focused on growing Facebook's cultural influence and that he's, quote, excited this year to get back to some OG Facebook. Facebook has billions of active users, but it doesn't resonate with people like it once did, particularly not younger folks. Zuck said, quote, I think that there's a lot of opportunities to make it way more culturally influential than it is today. And I think that that's sort of a fun and interesting goal that will take our product development in some interesting directions that we maybe haven't had a focus on it much over the last several years, end quote. Zuckerberg even said that the company may sacrifice financial gains for the sake of improving the product. And that is the point that I really took away from this, is that they're actually saying now we're going to not make as much money today because we want to continue to be able to make money tomorrow. And Sarah, I believe that, on yesterday's show, you talked about how teens don't really trust big tech. When you think of big tech, Facebook is one of those big tech companies that they think of.
100%.
And they just don't use Facebook. Now, we're not talking about Instagram and Threads and the other, and WhatsApp and other things. We're talking specifically about Facebook. But even though there's 3 billion people on that platform, it just doesn't have the appeal that some of these other social networks have. And I think that what Zuckerberg is figuring out is that, hey, if we don't do something now, and maybe forego some of this money that we're making today, we're going to have a real problem making it tomorrow, because these children, these teens are going to turn into young adults and they're going to turn into older adults. And if they're not using us now, they're probably not going to be using us then if we don't do something. So I think this is a big way for them to try to figure some stuff out.
I'm curious to know how they define culturally influential. Is that, is it, as you say, like, is it the mind share of younger or potentially younger adults and users for the service? Or is it that people aren't mentioning as much of, I learned on Facebook, or I find this out on Facebook? You know what I mean? It's less of a cultural meme discourse than maybe what it was 8 years ago.
Well, I think Facebook has, I know that parent company is Meta, but, speaking about Facebook in particular, because I don't think Instagram and Threads have the same problem. WhatsApp, totally different category. But Facebook specifically is still a place, and we talk about this on the show, and I know a lot of you watching and listening feel the same way. It is a place where it's the only way that I communicate with certain people in my life. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not necessarily all people who are, 40 years older than me. Some of it is my older relatives type thing. And some of it is just people who, they like Facebook. They never left Facebook. They're prolific on Facebook. If I go to, one of my best childhood friends, same age as me, if I go to her Facebook page, it's like, there's like a lot of stuff that she posts daily. She enjoys it and feels like she's tapping in. But so many other people have been saying for so long, Facebook's dead. Nobody who uses Facebook anymore. It's just it's so old. It's so stale. And when I hear Zuckerberg being like, let's make it more dynamic, I'm like, but how would you do that? Do you do that by taking away features? Because I think you've added as many features as you could possibly add. You got Facebook Reels. You can do all the stuff that supposedly, people enjoy, especially younger people, on something like a TikTok or, Instagram story type thing.
I mean, there's a lot of ways for them to look at it and go about it, but fundamentally, this is a platform that was designed like in the early 2000s, right? Yeah, it has added features overall, but it's roughly the same experience, right? You have your list of people, your friends or whatever, your circle of people, and you follow them, they follow you, you communicate. But it's like, it's like taking your high school yearbook. Yeah, we added a bunch of new features and new elements to it, but it's really just still a yearbook format. And I think fundamentally, when you see things like TikTok, you think even like even Threads or Instagram, it's a drastically different approach to connecting people, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just having, hey, here's a yearbook of my friends and family members that I can reach out and ask them questions and all sorts of things. Now it's about like, hey, what is also a social media platform, but also my entertainment platform, and also my news platform, and also the yada 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 rest of it. And I don't know fundamentally if Facebook really is that anymore, because again, you can only add so many features to a 2000 circa 2000
Well, and
platform.
I think Facebook also has sort of benefited, but also suffered from throwing too much spaghetti at the wall, right? So it's like, it used to be, right, like you're talking about, like more or less like yearbook, here's some fun photos, I'll tag some friends, and then it became like a messaging service, and then it became, we're trying to be like more like Snapchat, and Twitter, really, even earlier back in the day. And you can do all of those things on Facebook, but it's like, what is it exactly?
So I think another way to look at this is what Meta may be thinking about, what Zuckerberg may be thinking about, is that we actually have to get people to want to use Facebook. So there's a lot of people who use Facebook. It is still the biggest social media platform on the planet. That is, there's no question about that. Mm-hmm. But it is an aging demographic, and that's going to come to a head at some point. The other part of it is that there are other social media platforms out there that actually allow people to have conversations with each other. They don't throw ads up. Literally every third message is an ad. The interface is better. It's just a better experience. And although many of those people also have a Facebook account and they log into it every week or two, or once a month or so to check on family, they're just not rocking in Facebook like they do other social media platforms. And I think that that's ultimately the fire that Zuckerberg is talking about they need to recapture. And I don't know if they can build it into Facebook, if they need to go acquire someone like they did with Instagram, and put that into Facebook. But they've got to do something, because the youngsters, as I would say, are not using it. They simply are. And there's no reason for them to use it other than, I need to create this account so I can talk to Grand Aunt May. I need to create this account so I can talk to, this kid that I knew when I was in the 10th grade, and, trying to figure out if he's coming to the family reunion. Those are the class reunion. Those are the things that younger folks are using it for, very sparingly. And I think that that's ultimately where they want to turn this around.
I think it's very interesting you mentioned that, because I was thinking this reminds me a little bit of vacant, apartments that are rented out but are vacant, like the owners aren't there. So people have established a Facebook footprint, right? They have an account, they have their friends, but they don't use it. Like me, I don't really use it. The last time I've used it was earlier in the week, and that was to look at used car listings on Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace is actually
pretty
great.
I use Facebook Marketplace more than I actually do Facebook. So that tells you something.
Same.
2, Facebook has so been heavily geared over the past decade and a half towards giving you ads, because they wanted to make it an ad vehicle, that they've watered down that experience that you were referring to, Rob, where it just is like, why am I on here, right? It's like going through the free paper when half of it is just a bunch of ads, and you're flipping through the flyer and you're just there for the coupons. I think fundamentally Facebook or Meta needs to decide how it wants to generate revenue. If they rely on ads and they continue to rely on ads, I don't think they'll be able to do what Zuckerberg wants, because it's just tied into the fact that they want to throw ads at you on Facebook.
Well, yeah, and
the algorithm too.
Like that's become really tedious. Not everybody feels that way, but for those of us who do feel that way, it's like, all right, if Meta pulls back from that strategy, what's the strategy? Yeah. Because, this is a huge behemoth of money. You can't just be like, let's just not sell ads anymore and just make it cool again. Well, but that's going to take more work than that.
Well, that's the conundrum. They went all in on ads, and as Justin Robert Young is fond of saying, that the ad market is fundamentally different than it was a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And so they have wedded themselves to a revenue model that is being less and less relevant with each passing year. And so, like any large incumbent, whether you're talking about an airline, a car company, a tech company, to turn that ship around, as we've seen in Microsoft, it takes bold leadership, but also an understanding of how you're going to make money doing something else. For Microsoft, it wasn't selling you. They finally realized we're not going to make our future money selling people copies of Windows. We're going to make money by selling people services or having people attach themselves to services. And Facebook needs to figure out what that revenue model is, because they cannot figure out the rest of it until they work that out.
Yeah. If I were a betting person, I would think that they're probably going to look to acquire another company, or maybe they'll pull another Threads-like application out of that. Threads is something that's homegrown, that's built into Instagram. But Facebook is so much. I just don't know how much they can turn it around. And here's the other thing. You can say we're going to make a little bit less money, but you still have as a CEO of that company, you still have a fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders to make as much money for them as you possibly can. So it's not like they're going to trim off tens of billions of dollars off what Facebook is doing. That's not going to happen.
We're just gonna experiment for the next couple of years,
And I guarantee you,
everyone, don't worry about it.
They won't call it this, but I assume some sort of Facebook Lite or Diet Facebook, or spin whatever soda, a suffix or prefix you want, or Facebook Extreme, but something that is like Facebook, but a little less naughty for people to use. Maybe has pared down features, just a more simplified interface, just your friends, maybe like Google Circles. But I mean, they really need to figure out, how do we want to make money off this, and what do we do if we want to change this around, or do we just sort of kick the can down the road, say a few things, try a few things that don't pan out, but continue to make a bulk of our cash through ads.
I mean, literally just this morning, I was thinking about somebody that I knew when I was younger, and I was like, I wonder what she's up to. Looked her up on Facebook, because we became friends however many years ago, and her whole timeline is just people saying happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, like over the last 3 years, because she hasn't actually been active on Facebook at all, but her account is still active, and it's people trying to be nice, but you're just like, man, you gotta, if that's what I'm getting out of me, this person that I used to hang out with, when I was in my early 20s, Facebook ain't it. So I get that the company is trying to think outside the box, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna take some time to get folks to be like, oh, Facebook, yeah, let's do that.
Also, Zuckerberg is sort of aged out of that generational relevancy for a lot of people. Like, you're not a young college guy that's like all like startup mentality. You're just a middle-aged dude like the rest of us.
Speak for yourself, Roger. All right, so just a day after OpenAI accused DeepSeek of training on its proprietary models, Microsoft, a big investor in AI, obviously, announced something kind of interesting today. So let's talk about Think Deeper, not Deep Thinker, Think Deeper, Roger, and what Microsoft has cooking.
No Rodan here. Microsoft is bringing OpenAI's O1 model to all Copilot users this week for free. So that means you don't need to subscribe to Copilot Plus or any of the other Copilot tiers.
That's cool.
If you use Copilot, you will get this. Now, Think Deeper is the integration of the OpenAI's O1 model into the Copilot feature set within Windows, giving it the ability to handle more complex questions when you query it. So if you're a Copilot user, all you need to do is tap on the Think Deeper button, and it will ponder for about half a minute to, quote, consider your question from all angles and perspectives. Sounds like a fortune cookie. Now, in a separate blog post, Microsoft actually through his Azure, a blog post, Microsoft announced it's releasing NPU-optimized versions of DeepSeek's R1 reasoning model. This will allow the model to take advantage of the AI acceleration that is found in Copilot Plus PC machines, so the NPU. The first release will be the DeepSeek R1 distilled Qwen 1.5B for the Qualcomm Snapdragon X PCs. So those people with Copilot Plus PCs with Snapdragon processors will get it first. Then it will be followed by ones for the Intel Core Ultra 200V, and other Copilot PC certified processors will follow as well. Now, this comes following the arrival of DeepSeek R1 on the Azure AI Foundry. And what's interesting is just yesterday, Reuters had a story about Microsoft kind of probing to see if DeepSeek or a DeepSeek link grouped improperly obtained OpenAI data in order to build this model.
Yeah, because Microsoft and OpenAI obviously have had a very close partnership.
Very close.
And it feels to me that one, it's kind of cool. Like, just from a nerd perspective, having the ability to run these models locally is great, because then you're a little more secure about the security of your information that you put into the queries. But I do feel that Microsoft seems to be playing both sides of the fence here. Like, DeepSeek, they might have done something wrong. We're going to look into it. But at the same time, hey, DeepSeek, you can get it now, and you download it if you're a developer and run it locally on your Copilot PC.
Also, why is everybody using the word deep? It's like, we got Think Deeper, we got DeepSeek. Like, okay, I get it. Like, how deep are we going here? It's like when all the subscription services just called themselves Plus when they wanted you to pay for something.
So here's one of my thoughts on what's going on here. It's like the relationship between Microsoft and OpenAI, although it is a still big relationship, Microsoft is their main boo, so to speak, and vice versa. That, is like they're getting tired of each other, because it's like, just last week we heard about, Project Stargate. That didn't really, Microsoft's in it a little bit, but not to the extent that Oracle and OpenAI are getting together with SoftBank and doing stuff.
Right.
And now you're like, hey, we're going to do this stuff with O1, but we're also going to go to this other thing that, if everything pans out, can absolutely trounce you in the amount of resources that it takes to run. So we're going to try that too, because our customers might like to actually spend less money. So it's just kind of an interesting thing to where, they still are together, but they may not be going to the same clubs at the same time. They might be going, hey, I want to go to the club with the boys today. That's kind of what Microsoft is doing. And OpenAI is doing the same thing.
And it onty took, a year or so, I think, for this to kind of turn this way?
A little closer to 2, but yeah. It's not that long.
Half-ish.
I mean, I could totally see this from Microsoft's perspective, because they want to add legitimacy to the whole Copilot Plus PC initiative that they have, right? The more models you can get, the more people can run on. It's like, hey, I might need to go out and buy myself one of these Qualcomm Snapdragon X PCs that can run it, because that I develop for AI. I want to do AI agents. I need one of these machines. So that adds legitimacy to the whole thing. And so I think it's very much, it's a shrewd move from Microsoft, but also, like, unless there's a smoking gun with the DeepSeek, like, taking OpenAI models to train their models. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, like, no, we're not going to let you do it anymore. It's like, no, you have obviously a product that's better in some facets, especially in the size and the resources that you need to run it. So why not throw in some investment or open hand that way, in order just to, just maybe not play the field, but just be open to everyone, be receptive to everything.
Well, speaking of investments, this came in from the Financial Times right before we started the show. SoftBank in talks to invest $15 billion to, either $15 billion or up to $25 billion into OpenAI, on top of its $15 billion commitment to Stargate already, which would, if that ends up panning out, make SoftBank OpenAI's biggest backer. So I think Microsoft sees the writing on the wall here. Microsoft and OpenAI have had a close relationship. Obviously, a lot of collaboration going on. OpenAI is now sort of, the darling in the room, if you don't count DeepSeek. And other companies are like, yeah, let's get in on this. And Microsoft needs to figure out, while not like haven't been trounced out of the party, but needs to figure out what it's doing on its own.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Because we say OpenAI so much, people think that OpenAI is as big as Microsoft, is as big as Meta, is as big as it's a rounding error compared to the size of these companies. But what Microsoft is, what they understand is that, okay, we cannot attach our, to this one horse, and we're not attached to others, because there's going to be other stuff. There's going to be other stuff that is going to be competitive. There may be other stuff that may be better. And because of who we are and the amount of customers that we have to make sure that we are providing our customers any and everything that they might want. That could definitely be ChatGPT, stuff. But now it's going to look like it's going to be, some of DeepSeek's R1 as well. And that, to me, is actually a good move for Microsoft, because they wouldn't want to be in a situation to where all you have done is just back OpenAI, and then your competition is coming in and they're backing these other players who actually have good stuff out there.
Yeah.
And what you said earlier, I mean, DeepSeek, the R1 model just needs fewer compute resources, and that's a boon for independent developers, because now you don't need to have a boatload of money to buy new equipment or as much equipment or as much cloud services in order to do the stuff that you wanted to do. It just makes the barrier of entry a little lower. I'm not sure how this all pans out in 3, 6, 9 months, but there's definitely a lot of jockeying happening, and it's very interesting because it kind of feels like, when people are at at the prom, and maybe their dating situation isn't as solid as you thought when they started at the beginning of the night, and then it's towards the end of the night.
I was trying to make that analogy earlier, and I couldn't figure it out. That's actually a good way to put it. Microsoft's like, "Aw, you didn't really want to come to prom with me, did you?"
Yeah.
You just wanted me to give you a ride so you could talk to SoftBank.
Yeah, because I have a cool car.
Who you went with was not who you danced with. Well, what do you want to hear us talk about on the next show? One way is to let us know in our subreddit, submit stories and vote on them at www.reddit.com/r/dailytechnewsshow.
Google is launching something called Ask for Me, which is a new search lab experiment in its search lab department. It uses AI to call businesses for local service pricing and availability. This is very limited to start. It's limited specifically to nail salons and auto repair shops. So as a user, you can enter your service details. What do you want? You need oil change, you need a gel manicure. Google's AI will then call the business, promising to provide a summary back to you via text or email within 30 minutes. So you kind of know what you're getting before you might show up at the store or even call it yourself. This is powered by Google's Duplex technology. You might recall that was first announced at I/O back in 2018. It was kind of a big deal at the time. Duplex was like, wait, so Google can just go through a phone tree without me? It's already being used for things like restaurant reservations, updating business hours in Google Maps. So it's going, but Google's trying to expand that. The new Ask for Me feature, currently in beta, it has a wait list and only supports English queries in the US for now, but it's a start.
I am incredibly skeptical of this service working as the way the
working as advertised.
The engineers advertised. One, it has to be in English, but can it be heavily accented English? Like my parents' English would understand that. Two, even when you do nail hair salon or hair salon nail or whatever, there are multiple questions that happen. They ask for your name and all that. And third, how would he handle that conversation, especially if you're dealing with auto repair? Like, what's wrong with your car? Does it not start? Is it not moving? They're asking you all these questions. And
right. Yeah. The general, I need new tire on, front left is, is but often there's more nuance to it.
When I called the Volvo repair shop about my 240 DL station wagon not starting, it's like, okay, what's wrong with it? And I told them. And then he's like, he asked me a few more questions. I gave him answers. Like, yeah, it's probably the mass air sensor. Just show up here, whatever this time, and I'll take care of it. Can that service maybe it can do that for you. That would be great. And the third question I have is this coming from your phone number? Because if it just comes from a random phone number and there's a voice that no one hears that doesn't respond in the same way a person responds, the nail salon, the auto shop just might think it's a spam call.
Interesting. I don't know that I'm ready to use something like this to schedule a car appointment, because I'm just going to try to get my tires rotated and I come out with a new transmission. That's not at all what I wanted. But I can see it for services like getting your nails done. I can see something like this absolutely working. And that's the kind of, that's the kind of appointment that where I would want to see it actually, be tested out and get going. Like I said, my wife goes to get her nails done every other week or so. And I could see her using this and trying it out, because it's like, okay, well, I can get there. I can explain. No, I really didn't want that. This is what I wanted. But when it comes to a car, I'm not looking at what you're doing. So I can't say, hey, I didn't actually want you to put a new transmission in. I just wanted you to rotate my tires. So I can see something like this working. I mean, here's the thing. The announcement is just coming out. These systems are absolutely going to get better, and they've got to start somewhere. So like I said, for me, I'm all with it to try to see if it can't get me a nail salon appointment, to see if that's going to make it easier on me, where I can just, here's what I normally get done. You just go do your thing. You make the phone call and schedule everything and tell me when I need to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I think like your wife, I not right now, but when I'm on a good month, I'm getting my nails done. Yeah, every couple of weeks. It's it's maintenance, but at the same time, this feels like a service that is great for when you're in an unfamiliar area. So if I want to get my nails done, I know where the place is. I know them, call them on the phone. Hey, I'll be there in 15 minutes. All right, bye. That's easy. This doesn't feel like something that I need in a familiar neighborhood, because you already know your familiar neighborhood shops. Yeah. The auto shop that you know and trust, you probably know and trust because you've already been there. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just like, hey, you guys have time for me? 20 minutes, that kind of thing. And
that's a great point, because when I call my auto shop, I don't just call the auto shop and talk to anybody. I call my auto shop and say, hey, can I speak to Mike? Right. Literally, I know the guy that is there every day, and that's who I call. He knows me, I know him, and he gets me taken care of. So you might be absolutely right on it. This might not be for where you live. It might be for when you're somewhere that you don't necessarily live.
Which is, I think, why so many Google queries are like nail salon near me. It's like, I know what's near me right now because I live here. But what if I'm on the go?
And when Daniel on YouTube makes that point that you just did, Rob, Daniel saying, when I make a car service appointment, I have specific people I need to speak with, and not sure how the agentic AI would be able to navigate that. Like, hey, I need to talk to Rob, the master mechanic, not like David, who just takes calls, because he knows my car. He understands when I say, it's shaking over here. He said he would take care of it. There's this whole thing. I'm also caught up on the whole thing of, like, it seems like such a weird thing for an AI to do a phone call, because a lot of the services I need, whether it's banking or whatever, is actually done online. And so if it could navigate that portion of it and just interface with, like, my Toyota dealership, to make an appointment, you can't call. You have to go to the website and then click through and then make the appointment and the date and time for it. I don't know. It seems like it seems. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it just seems like asking. It's like asking AI to make a fax. Like, fax this for me.
And I wonder how it works on. I know this is supposed to be the whole idea of Ask for Me that Google is offering is supposed to be something that makes life convenient for us, right? The patron, the end user. How is it for Mike, at Robb's auto shop, who he has a good rapport with, and can be like, hey, Mike, I got to do this thing, are you available, yada yada. what does something like this, being the middleman, do for the folks who are providing the service? Because in many cases, I'm sure it's going to be helpful, but in other cases, you kind of have like this barrier between the human conversation.
Yeah, that's where this starts to break down. Like I said, your point about do you really need this when you're local is really on point. If I'm in Vegas, like I could see this, my wife she's not going to go out if her nail is like if it's cracked or broke or something like that. So if we're somewhere and she needs to go get that repaired, she might want to use something like this to try to figure out where can I go to get this type. Now I don't do nails, but like this type of dip set, acrylic, this and that and the other. She knows what she's looking for. Can she put that into the AI and have it call places and figure out, hey, can you get me in to do this fix in the next hour?
Sure. And that would potentially save her tons of time of searching around and, talking to people and being like, oh, okay, sorry, we can't, take you, that whole thing. I get that. I totally get that. Vegas, great example. But yeah, again, I don't know that this is like a daily thing that Google, and maybe Google doesn't expect people to use it that way. Maybe it's something that truly is sort of like when I'm in my car and I'm almost out of gas, which happened yesterday, by the way, and I'm like, gas station near me. Like, I just, I'm not in my area of town. Like, I actually do need you to help me with that. Maybe this is an extension of that.
I mean, if they made it more of a concierge style service, I could totally see that. But having that sort of localized, I don't know. I definitely see where this is going, and I can totally see the power of it. But at the same time, I don't know. I just feel a little, I feel it's incomplete. Like there's something missing about this service. But
we'll have to check in 3 months and 6 months in a year and 2 years,
right?
And see where this is, because
we're talking auto shops and nail salons right now, which is again, hopefully I don't have to go to an auto shop very often, but a nail salon I do.
Which is also another thing. Why those two? Why not a restaurant? Like it's easier to book. Like, hey, party. They already
started with restaurants. Yeah, the restaurant stuff with Google Duplex was like, that was the whole big splashy thing back in 2018, is like, you can just get a reservation without actually calling the restaurant yourself. Ooh, it was a whole thing at the time. I don't know how many people use that feature to this day, but it was certainly a big deal at the time.
There was a time when what could I possibly use with 3 Echoes in the house? Or then when I switched over to the Google Assistant, why do I need a 3-pack? And now I'm thinking about it. I got like 2 Nest and 5 hockey pucks around the house because they're useful. So eventually we'll figure out how to use this service. And like I said, let's wait 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. It'll probably be awesome.
All right. So let's talk authoring books. R.W. Nash, and shout out to you, R.W. Nash, who is always sending us really, really nice stuff. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is where I can always find him, but also submitted this story to our subreddit. So, Roger, what's going on with the Authors Guild?
So, The Verge is reporting that the Authors Guild, one of the largest associations of writers in the United States, has initiated the Human Authored Project. It's a project to provide human authors a way to certify that their book or books are written by a human and not generated by generative AI. Currently, certification is restricted to members of the guild and books written by a single writer, so no collaborations. However, the program will expand, quote, in the future to include books by non-guild members with multiple authors. To be certified, the books and other works that are going to be covered by this must be almost entirely written by humans. So they didn't give a percentage, but I would think maybe at least 85-90% of it written by a human individual or humans. And I found it very interesting because it reminds me a little bit of the early days when farmers or growers would try to certify their produce as organic or non-GMO. get it certified, put on the bags or their stands, or for example, fair trade, like, hey, we didn't screw over a bunch of farmers in Central America to get you these
like
coffee beans.
We care more.
Yes.
And that's, that's the label that you're seeing on this lettuce that you're about to buy.
Yeah, it's healthy lettuce. There's no chemicals, nothing that you have to worry about. And it feels a little bit like that. The CEO of the Authors Guild, Mary Rassensberger, said that the whole idea is not to be anti-technology, but to add more transparency to the process, so you know who's writing what and what you're getting.
So this, first of all, I think this is generally a good idea. I know a lot of human authors are like, yeah, I want someone to know that, it came from my brain. And yeah, maybe I did some spell check here and there, or even if I had like other human editors collabing with me, this was something that, comes from the heart type thing. I also don't think there's anything wrong with, if I pick up a book, or, whatever, any work of art that is AI generated, and I'm like, this really speaks to me. Nothing wrong with that either. But it's kind of nice to know the distinction. It's sort of, it almost reminds me of, if I'm going to watch a movie that is, maybe it's an action movie. They're going to be, a little tropey, a lot of explosions, car chases kind of thing. Like, I know what I'm getting. Not to say that humans don't make those kind of movies, but then you have, a movie on, the other side of the spectrum where you're like, wow, that director really got kind of crazy with this movie. It makes you feel differently. And maybe as humans, we're going to adapt to know the difference, but I very much get that human authors would want to have, I am organic on their book.
I can say this today. I believe that if I was reading, particularly if it was fiction, if I'm reading something that someone made up, completely made up in their mind, I would want something that a human made up versus something that a computer made up. I can definitely tell you this. I'd be willing to pay more for the thing that the human made than something that a computer made. But I do wonder that over time, will we just get to where we don't care as long as the works are good? The other question I have is that will we see differences between fiction and nonfiction? Because I think that if you are writing an instruction manual or you're giving someone instructions on something, it would be very easy to go to, to go to one of these large language models and say, hey, give me 3 paragraphs on this particular thing, on how it's done. And it's done the same way every time. So that it could come up with something that's not necessarily novel, but it's like it's not someone else's work. It's just based off of, this is how we know this thing is done. And if my goal was, I want the information so that I now know how to install this sump pump, I didn't care necessarily that a human wrote it versus something that was generated from from an agent. But if it's fiction, if it's a story, if I'm getting into a good book, like, I'm waiting for Reacher season 3 to come out. I want to know that somebody actually wrote that. A person wrote that I can, become a fan of. I don't necessarily ever want to see myself becoming a fan of an agent.
That's a really good point. Is like, even if you like a story that's AI generated, does that somehow make fandom not as fun? I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here, but I'm just sort of thinking about it. Like, do I go like, ooh, I can't wait for that particular AI's next big,
I mean, realistically, what you're going to have is some sort of composite, right? It's going to be a composite of either AI generates like the text, and then the human copy editor comes through and says, doesn't make sense, you got to rearrange the order of this, and all that. Or it'll be more of a collaborative thing where a person writes out like a Reacher season 3. It's like, these are the plot points I want to hit. AI, you just write the dialogue that connects the first action sequence with the exposition sequence, with the emotional drama pathos sequence, with the ending action sequence. Like, just write the connective plot points that connect those two elements. And I definitely can see that happening in the same way that individuals will often use, remember ghostwriters? Like that was like heresy when it first came out, when it first came to light, even though it's been like centuries old. Where it's like, you didn't actually write that. And I thought it was all your thoughts. It's this other guy's thoughts. But it's like, no, they wrote it, but I went through and said, no, it doesn't sound like me. I would say this. Terrible idea. You go through.
Well, and even, something like ghostwriting it's very, it's the person who's helping the other person write the book or, make the movie or whatever. It's like, that's very personal. It doesn't mean that you're just sitting there being like, ha ha, I didn't do anything. It's like, no, somebody is your assistant in a way. And that's what a lot of this stuff also is. It can be your assistant. It can also just be its own thing. And I think that's what a lot of these authors are wanting to make the distinction on. It's like, It's not as if we don't use tools to write a book. It's hard. It's hard to write a book. Everybody knows that. But if it's not a human at all, then we want to not have that check mark on the book.
I will think that at some point they're going to need to come out with a very like comprehensive description of what they consider to be not enough human writing into a book.
Yeah, right now it sounds like it's if you use anything more than spell check, maybe thesaurus, Grammarly, or something like that, they're gonna ding it. They don't want it. Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, romance novels everywhere.
Harlequin AI.
Gotta be human. Gotta be human. All right, Rob, let's check out the mailbag.
So Alex in Montreal wrote about our discussion on transferring money using various apps and services. And he writes, I've only ever used the Interac e-transfer for sending and receiving money electronically. It's so widespread in Canada. Even my 95-year-old grandmother sends us birthday money by e-transfer. We've even received e-transfers for the occasional class action settlement. In fact, I only hear of Venmo and others on DTNS and other American news programs.
We've been talking about how people use, how people transfer money, depending on where they live. I'm surprised, Alex, that you don't need to use Venmo, but that you really haven't heard of it outside of our program. Also, I love the fact that your grandma is like, all right, happy birthday, e-transfer. Here you go, $40. It's kind of like when my uncle used to give me $40, in a physical check for my birthday every year in a little birthday card. That was what he did. That. Yeah, I know. It was nice.
I mean, yeah, I got like a cool. It wasn't the Speak and Spell. It was the math version of the
Speak and Math
or something.
Speak and Math. I remember Speak and Spell.
Speak and Spell, Speak and Read, Speak and Math. I had all three.
Yes. Oh, so I had to speak. I had the one that was the math because that's the one my dad bought instead of the Speak and Spell. It's like, oh, you need the math one. It's like, all right, I guess I need the math one. It's not as fun.
But back to Alex's email, Interac e-transfer. I mean, I'm not familiar with it because,
makes sense.
I'm not in Quebec, but
you're not in Canada, so you wouldn't be familiar with what they use there. It's just like, we use Venmo. PayPal is probably kind of known everywhere because that's international, but a lot of these, these apps are really only local to the country that you use them in.
Yeah. Which is a good reminder. I mean, for example, Cash App. There are people that I know who, they are Cash App loyal. It's Cash App or nothing. They don't use Venmo, and we're all in the United States. When you get outside of the United States, and again, depending on where you live, a lot of folks kind of snicker at us, like, what is happening in the U.S.? Like, why do you all make it so hard on yourselves? Why do you have 40 different ways to transfer money?
I prefer a variety of options.
I do too.
It just feels like if that service goes under or there's some sort of data breach, I can jump over and Also,
that's a big part of it.
I'm very. I understand the point of Zelle, and I know a lot of people use it, but I feel that money shouldn't be that easy to transfer just in case you do something while you're not totally focused on what you're doing and you might be sending a little too much money.
I never do that. I might be unfocused and send less money than I'm supposed to send, but I never
all it takes is one errant press and that decimal point moves over.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I quintuple check when I'm sending somebody something on Zelle. It's like, are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you really, really sure?
Like for me, it's like Venmo. I can only put X amount of dollars in there, right? I can never go over that, right? And so if I owe someone $600, I can't accidentally give them $800.
Well, I mean, you could, but you have to do it over like a couple different sessions. Well,
Yes.
Alex in Montreal, hope you're staying warm. Thank you for the email, and thanks to everybody who gives us a lot of feedback. Your feedback really matters to us. Keep it coming. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
And folks, during the show, you've been submitting titles, and we've got a few of them that we're going to, see where they are. So our first one here is "Throwing Spaghetti at the Facebook Wall" by Zoe Brings Bacon.
I like that one.
Microsoft is Thinking Deeper by Larry in Atlanta.
Yes, it is.
Human-Made Seal of Approval by JPEG84.
Yeah, books.
Certified Human-Made Show with Nick with a C.
I think that's us.
Yeah.
And Facebook Plus Max Extreme Light Larry in Atlanta.
I mean,
what's it going to be called? Facebook Plus? If they call it Facebook Plus, I'm just going to, I don't even know what I'm going to do. Max,
sue them
Extreme,
for
Light,
copyright infringement.
Ultra.
maybe they'll call it Facebook Just for You, or Face for You, or Just for You.
Yeah. So, Sarah, what did we go with?
Well, our title for today, even though we got a lot of good titles, and thank you to everybody for submitting, is "Throwing Spaghetti at the Facebook Wall." That comes from Zoe Brings Bacon.
Woohoo!
Yeah. I'm probably going to do that later tonight. Throw spaghetti at the Facebook wall.
I know, but there's something you got recently, Rob, that you would never throw at a wall.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, we have sort of a surprise unboxing.
I got the new hotness. It showed up literally. I was on my way to the studio, and the Ring, the Ring doorbell came on, and I believe this is my brand new Galaxy S25 Ultra.
S25.
So I said, what better way to do a show than to actually open it up and see what it is. Now, I'm not going to do a full unboxing right now, but you guys are seeing it. I'm opening the box up brand new. Hopefully this is the phone and not just accessories and stuff like that, because I did get some of those as well.
Yeah, that would suck.
So let's see what we got.
Ooh, at least it's well packaged.
This is interesting packaging. Oh,
so yeah.
All right.
So yeah, let's look and see what we got here. So
Rob is happy right now.
Yeah, I got a bunch of cases. I think they sent me too many cases. I think I have 4 cases here. I don't think I asked for that many cases. But
well,
yeah,
I mean, variety is the spice of life.
I got a little 25-watt charger, and here is the phone. So like I said, I'm not going to open this up right now, but yeah, here we have the brand new Galaxy S25 Ultra. I know a lot of people have been telling me.
I know you're not going to open it right this second, but is it in shrink wrap outside the box, or just the box itself? So
no, this is just the box. So there's like a tab that I would have to tear here, the tab I would have to tear, at the bottom, and then I think it just slides out. So it was well packaged though. It was wrapped up in this biodegradable looking stuff here.
Are you moving?
I'm moving from an S22 Ultra. So I know a lot of folks are saying, "Oh, you should just wait till the S26," and I hear that, but I wanted an S25. So that's the main reason why I got one. And I'm 3 phones back. I can understand if I had an S24, I probably would be waiting. But I did that. I didn't get an S24 because people were saying, "Oh, just wait till the S25. It's not that big of an upgrade." So I don't know that I've ever gone 3 years on my primary driver for a phone before. So yeah, I can't wait. Probably sometime tomorrow morning, this thing is going to get cracked open in front of a camera.
Let me ask you, did you think about maybe getting a foldable Galaxy, or were you just set on that particular model?
I was set on this. I actually had the Galaxy Fold 2, I believe. And I just didn't like it. So I got it. I played with it. I just didn't like it. I thought that it was not actually, believe it or not, I didn't think it was big enough, because when I found myself using it in candy bar style all the time, it's like, well, if I want to use it in candy bar style, why don't I just get a bigger phone so I don't feel like the phone is too small?
All right.
So I actually returned it within the 30-day return period and got the got the S22.
So you didn't really like fold it out to use it. You just left it in.
I wasn't folding it out enough to use it. And then the other thing is that I am actually someone, I really use my my stylus. I use my stylus multiple times a day, because whenever I take like notes, I still like to handwrite a note when I can, because it just sears it in your memory a little bit more. So I write them with my with my stylus on my phone. So with the Galaxy, or with the Fold, I said, well, maybe if they ever put a stylus in it, if it comes with an S Pen that's built into it, as compared to having to carry an extra thing in your pocket, maybe I would go back to it. But until they do that, I have no reason to even look at it. So I'm going to be happy with my S25 probably until the S26 comes out.
Which is probably in, I don't know, 6 months.
No, it'll be a year. I expect it to come out this time.
it would be Samsung
this time next year. But they're supposed to have like new battery technology that are way more dense and something like that. So so we'll see.
Are you a big DeX user where you can use your phone as sort of like a desktop machine you plug in the cable?
I have used it, but I also have a Galaxy Tab, Galaxy Tab 9 Plus, I believe, where it's just so easy to just use it on that as compared to using it on my phone, that where I've actually got a keyboard and and so on and so forth. So I have used DeX on my phone before, but it was more so just to test it out, to show people how cool this is. I'm not going to carry a wireless keyboard so that I can be effective with it. So I would rather just, if I want to carry a wireless keyboard, I might as well just carry the tablet that has DeX built into it, and I can use with the keyboard right there on the screen.
I've had weird fantasies of trying to use a Samsung foldable as like a little miniature laptop. Like I would get rid of my laptop and I'd just use this little thing and just like type on it, and use like DeX would have like a full size keyboard. But it would be just like your, my daily computing device outside of just being.
But like when you say like weird fantasy, it's I have the same, where I'm like, yeah, but does that hinder me or help me?
From what I've read, the biggest obstacle is that you would not be able to navigate the way you would normally, like even like on a Chromebook.
And maybe that's good for some people. Like, you rewire your brain, in a sense. But I don't know. I mean, I have friends who laugh at me where they're like, why did you bring your laptop? Like, don't you have a cell phone? Yeah. And I'm like, I want a keyboard.
So for me, like I said, I would absolutely use DeX if I physically was carrying a keyboard with me. But the thing is, if I'm not going to put a keyboard in my pocket, so it's going to go into like a little messenger bag or something. Well, if I'm doing that, I might as well just throw my tablet in there, and there would be no reason for me to use DeX on the phone. I can just use it on the tablet. Yeah. So I use DeX quite regularly on my tablet. In fact, I probably run it in DeX mode more than I run it in just standard Android mode. But because it's so convenient to take the tablet along with me, because like I said, I'm going to carry something that has a keyboard on it, I might as well carry the screen that goes to it in the case of a tablet as compared to just having an extra keyboard for my phone.
But for me, then my logic would go, well, if you're going to do that, might as well just bring the laptop.
That's what I'm saying. That's
so I'm convinced.
Honestly, that's what I had to take a friend to the hospital yesterday. It's, the story for another time, but I had my laptop in a little tote, and he was like, why do you have your laptop? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, so I can work, so I can be a person. If I just have my phone, I feel like, okay, I can do text message and, social network stuff. But when I really have to work, it's like, I need the laptop. I need that form factor.
It's true. It's true.
I almost didn't take my laptop to CES. And next year, I probably won't, because I didn't need it for anything. I was able to do everything that I wanted to do on my tablet if I would have just only had the tablet.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's freeing at least, right? All right. So, Roger, before we get out of here, we want to thank folks who gave us a little raise, a little love.
Yeah, I like to shout out Dwight, Stoic Biker, and D-Laser, who all gave us Patreon raises. Thank you all. And I also want to shout out everyone on Twitch chat who's been supporting us. We have PC Milesy and Zoe Brings Bacon cheering us on with bits. And Damon Che, who followed us 27 minutes ago, thank you for watching the show on Twitch.
Yeah.
It really helps.
Welcome. If you are a DTNS supporter, and if you're listening to us, you know you are, you want to show that off. We've got stuff for you at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. You can pick up a coffee mug, a t-shirt, a mouse pad. Our new DTNS logo is on all of them. We're very excited about this. They're great looking ways to support us and also the show, and a fun conversation piece to spread the word. Thank you so much for everybody who supports us, and yeah, rock that mouse pad. You can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is 2100 UTC. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. And since we do this Monday through Friday every day, we'll be back doing it all again tomorrow. We'll see you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.